And we are going to be joined now by the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. Good morning to you, Home Secretary.
Good morning.
Good morning. Obviously, the most horrific attack that took place in Manchester yesterday. What more do we know about the attacker? Were they known to the security services?
Well, look, let me just start by saying this has been an absolutely devastating anti-Semitic terrorist attack here in Manchester, and my thoughts remain with the victims and the families of all those who have been murdered. And I particularly want to thank the members of the community who were worshipping at the synagogue yesterday, whose quick action undoubtedly saved lives, alongside the quick reaction of the police who brought this attack to an end within 7 minutes of receiving the first phone call. In terms of the attacker, this individual was not known to the security services. He has obviously been shot dead at the scene, but the police investigations will now continue at pace.
We've been hearing from British Jews this morning who say they expected something horrific like this to happen in their communities. They say it was only a matter of time. There's been years, they say, of unchecked anti-Semitism in this country, whether it's at pro-Palestine marches or on university campuses. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I have many friends within the Jewish community myself, and I've been here in Manchester since yesterday talking to members of the community here, and I absolutely hear what they are saying, and those are messages that I've been hearing for months as well. And what I want to do is to reassure the community that this government will take the rising tide of anti-Semitism seriously. We already invest in security for the community, security at places of worship, as well as other communal institutions, because we don't want our Jewish community here in Britain to have to live a smaller Jewish life because of the fear of anti-Semitism. And it is really important that we all hold the line between that which is legitimate in our country, which is protest and so on, but that behaviour which crosses the line and breaks our laws. The laws of our land must be upheld, and I will ensure that they are.
But Home Secretary, we had pro-Palestine protesters taking place just hours after this attack. One of those protesters, who's been cited in the newspapers this morning, Fiona Smith, said, "I don't give an expletive about the Jewish community right now." The Metropolitan Police have also asked a separate protest planned for Saturday to be postponed so they can prioritise resources to keep the Jewish community safe, and they have refused. What are you, as Home Secretary, doing to counteract those measures from those pro-Palestinian protesters?
I think those messages are utterly disgraceful. They are fundamentally un-British in nature, as far as I'm concerned. I would have wanted to see people in this country, step back from protesting for at least a few days, just to give the Jewish community here a chance to process what has happened and to begin the grieving process as well. I am very disappointed that some of the organisers haven't heeded the call to step back. The areas of protest here are well known. These protests have been going on for some time.
So, Home Secretary, forgive me, but what are you doing about it?
Duration now, but I would still call on people to show some love and some solidarity to the families of those who have been murdered and to our Jewish community. This is a community that is very much a part of the wider community as well, and an attack on the Jewish community is an attack on the rest of us as well, and I would have wanted to see that spirit of unity and solidarity prevail. I'm sure that for the vast majority in this country, that spirit of unity is what will prevail.
OK, but Home Secretary, what are you specifically doing about those fears from the Jewish community who say these kind of protests, which are still planned for this week, are making them feel unsafe in this country? You're the Home Secretary. Your job is to keep British citizens safe.
Absolutely, and we've already stepped up security and police presence across synagogues all over the country, as well as other institutions for the Jewish community. I will make sure that the policing response is ready for whatever eventuality there might be. The police are on standby. There is a huge police presence here in Manchester and then across the Greater Manchester area, but you will see more police around institutions that are connected to the community, because we want the community to be able to go about their business in safety and in security. I do understand those worries, and that is why we are responding with the increase in resources.
We're hearing from Israeli ministers who are blaming Keir Starmer for failing to curb a toxic wave of anti-Semitism in Britain. Others saying that this is a consequence to recognising the state of Palestine, that it emboldens people who wish to cause harm to the Jewish community. What do you say to that?
Well, firstly, we will not tolerate anti-Semitism in our country. It is utterly wrong. I condemn all acts of anti-Semitism
well, there's hateful speech at
and we
these
will take a stand against
marches.
it. If you would just let me finish, I think that we have to separate out two different things here. The only person responsible for this devastating attack is the attacker himself. He is the one who bears the responsibility for what has happened. He has been shot dead. There are other arrests that have been made, and the due process of law and our criminal justice system must now take its course. That is separate to what is happening over in the Middle East, and the one thing that this government has been working hard for every single day since coming into office is to fight for a peace process and a peaceful resolution, a ceasefire, and the long-term peace process that we need to bring peace to the people of Israel as well to the people of Palestine.
The Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, Home Secretary, has written for The Telegraph this morning, calling out the justice system as being too lenient for those who are glorifying Hamas and other terrorists at some of these marches. Do you think, or are you taking measures to make the justice system a bit tougher for those who are kind of glorifying terrorism?
Look, there is absolutely no space for glorifying terrorism in our country. We have very strong laws that prohibit the supporting of banned organisations, proscribed terror groups. Anybody who goes to a march and shows support for a prescribed terror organisation will face the full force of the law. Anybody who goes and breaks our laws against incitement to racial hatred will face the full force of our law. And that is what I mean when I say it is important we hold the line between behaviour which might be difficult but is legal and behaviour that clearly breaks our laws. And where our laws are broken, I would expect our police, our prosecution system and our wider justice system to respond and to make sure that people really do feel the full force of the law.
OK, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast.
Thank you.
Let's get some instant reaction to that, shall we, from GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and the former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall. Morning to you both. Nigel, let's start with you. What did you make of what the Home Secretary had to say there?
Well, I think that she didn't tell us anything new. She made it clear that the killer hadn't been known to the security services, hadn't gone through any prevent programme, so was on no one's radar. I think obviously your questions about the protests were the interesting thing. I mean, the decent thing to do for the organisers would have been to call off those protests last night and to call off any further protests this coming weekend. They should actually show some respect for the people who've been killed. However, I don't think it's for the government to ban protests. Otherwise, terrorism wins. If we start losing our freedoms, then that is actually a victory for the terrorists. So I don't think it should be banned. I don't think they should go ahead, but I do think that the responsibility is on the organisers of the protests.
Claire?
See, I disagree. I think that was a really weak response from Shabana Mahmood when your questions about the planned protest for tomorrow in London. And she said, well, I would have liked it if people took a couple of days off. Well, you're the Home Secretary. I think that now you need to take the view that this has to stop. This has to be banned. And I get the free speech argument. I buy that terrorism might win. However, if you are a member of the Jewish community not feeling safe in your capital city or any city around the country, and you're seeing these pro-Palestine marches being allowed to continue with the level of anti-Semitism that we have seen over the last 2 years, you are going to feel so incredibly let down, unsafe in your own country. It has to stop, and this is what the Home Secretary should be doing.
I mean, no one's disputing that you can't have a peaceful protest, but the argument the Metropolitan Police is making, Nigel, is that they don't have the resources to police that kind of protest as well as the heightened security which they now have to do at synagogues.
And it's a decent argument. It goes back again to the organisers. I think that they should have taken that on board. Quite clearly, synagogues need to be protected. Quite clearly need police to do that. They can't can't do both things. So again, it should be for the organisers to say, look, the decent thing to do is let's stop these things for this weekend and return to it at a later date.
Mm.
I mean, there are practical consequences, aren't there, in terms of a policing response to this? If there's going to be that increased security outside synagogues, as I saw on my drive in this morning, I mean, there'll be practical consequences on Saturday with this march.
Well, there will, and you're going to get to the point where Jewish people are not going to feel safe enough to go outside of their own house, which is an appalling state to be in 2025.
Yeah, Nigel and Claire, thank you very much for your response to the Home Secretary's interview there on GB News Breakfast. Those victims have been named in Manchester. We'll bring you the latest after this.